Okay, let's dive deep into a film that finds profound meaning in silence.
Mm-hmm.
We're exploring Hirokazu Kore-eda's 1995 masterpiece, Maborosi no Hikari, or, often just
The
Maborosi.
Illusory Light, yeah. A really foundational film for him.
Absolutely. For this deep dive, we've gone through some really insightful analysis, pulling key ideas from a piece focused on, well, navigating grief through silence in the film.
Which is really central to understanding Maborosi.
Exactly. So our mission today, for you, is to unpack this film's unique take on grief, loss, and identity. We'll focus on how it uses cinematic technique, stillness, silence especially, to explore, the incomprehensible nature of death.
And that quiet, often very solitary process of mourning.
Think of this as your shortcut to really getting to the heart of this powerful work.
Yeah, it's not just a story about loss, is it? It's deeper.
Right. It's an exploration of how inexplicable death can feel. Silent ways mourning takes shape.
And that inner fragmentation, that sense of falling apart when someone is just
Ah.
suddenly gone.
Yeah. What happens then? The film looks at how that absence can dissolve your identity, and then maybe how it slowly gets reconstructed.
And what's so striking about Maborosi is how it really embodies Kore-eda's signature style, even this early, rooted in silence, stillness.
A sense of emptiness, almost. He doesn't give you easy answers.
No, definitely not. He leaves you with these potent questions instead.
Hmm.
It's a quiet journey, slow, profoundly shaped by time and that pervasive silence.
And the person taking that journey is the protagonist, Yumiko.
Right. When we first meet her, she seems quite cheerful, almost girlish, wouldn't you say, especially with her first husband.
Very much so. But then, after his suicide, which is presented as sudden, completely incomprehensible, everything shifts.
She becomes quiet, contemplative. She looks calm on the surface, but you feel she's fundamentally changed.
And that shift into silence, it's not like she stops feeling, it's more like that's where the grief really starts its work.
In that quiet internal space. Yeah, allowed by the slow passage of time. That's where her character matures, where the transformation unfolds.
And the film sets this tone right away, doesn't it? That very first scene. Brief, but symbolically huge.
The scene with her grandmother. Young Yumiko watches her grandmother leave the house, walk away.
But she doesn't follow her. She just watches.
That hesitation, that moment, she could have gone but didn't. It feels like the thematic core right there, a metaphor for the morning to come.
And open to interpretation, too.
Definitely. One reading is about avoidance, a child not ready to face death or separation that hints at it.
And maybe that connects to later her inability to grasp why her husband died, the silence carrying forward from childhood.
The door closes, she just watches, it stays with her.
Yeah. Or maybe it's about desire versus reality, like she wants to follow, connect.
But it's too late, the door's shut.
Yeah.
And that echoes the lifelong question she carries after her husband's death, the unanswered why.
That question just hangs there unanswered, a silent wait.
And a third way to look at it, perhaps, is this irreversible threshold. It foreshadows a kind of core emotional fracture in her.
The root of her melancholy.
Maybe. This urge to follow something lost, but never reaching it. Like a subconscious void is etched into her right from the start.
So this deep inner rupture, this void, how does it show up outwardly after her husband's death? The film shows her calm, but underneath.
Emotionally numb, disconnected. That seems right.
And that inner conflict, it sort of seeps into her external life. You see it in her bond with her new family after she remarries.
Oh, absolutely. She's physically there with her second husband, his daughter, but emotionally, spiritually, she seems anchored in the past by that grief.
There's also that disconnect with her environment, right? She moves from the city to the countryside, but that connection feels thin at first.
It does. Superficial. And crucially, her sense of time gets warped.
How so?
Daily life feels cyclical, repetitive, because the unresolved grief keeps pulling her back to the past. It really shows how grief isn't just internal. It reshapes your whole relationship with the outside world.
So that move to the countryside then, after she remarries, that's a really pivotal moment.
It's more than just moving house. It's like a shift in her inner climate. She starts, tentatively, to reconnect with nature.
And time slows down.
Yeah, the rhythm changes.
Yeah.
Which maybe suggests that mourning, real mourning, can't be rushed. It needs its own time.
And what does that slower pace give Yumiko?
Space, I think. Space to maybe finally confront her inner voice, let those repressed emotions surface.
And the countryside itself plays a role.
Definitely. Its vastness, its silence, its loneliness sometimes. It mirrors her inner world. Isolated, yes, but also somehow livable. It's an environment that can hold the scale of her grief.
The film's visual style really hammers this home, too, the disrupted time.
Absolutely. Kore-eda's techniques, those incredibly slow takes, the static camera, the long pauses.
They're not just pretty shots.
No, they communicate her psychological state.
Mm.
Time is fractured for her. The past isn't over.
She's living in it still.
Exactly. It doesn't feel linear, like time moving forward. It feels circular, grief renewing itself daily almost.
And the editing contributes to that.
Yeah, it feels almost invisible sometimes. It focuses on dwelling in moments, these emotionally charged moments, not just plotting events. It pulls you, the viewer, into her timeless state.
Like that jump you mentioned with her son.
Right. The transition where he skips from being a baby in the city to suddenly being a young boy later on. It's jarring because her internal clock feels stuck. It visually echoes her disrupted time.
Because her own time hasn't moved forward in the same way.
Precisely. And that brings us to her relationship with her son. He's quiet too, isn't he? Almost mirroring her.
Growing up in that silence.
Yeah. He's quite a passive character. And their bond, it's complex. It seems like it's partly how she suppresses her mourning, but also how it gets reshaped. Well, as a mother, she has to appear strong for him, right? So she pushes her own sorrow down, internalizes it, postpones dealing with it fully.
But he's also her anchor.
He's the thread holding her to life, the central bond. That relationship carries all this weight, memory, responsibility.
And there's that powerful idea in the source material about mourning becoming almost hereditary, like a silence passed down.
That inherited silence, yeah.
Right.
It adds another layer to the quiet family dynamic, you see.
There's also a fascinating contrast the film draws, quite subtly, between men and women.
That's a really key point. The men, especially her first husband, they represent absence, a void of meaning. His suicide leaves that why unanswered. He leaves by choice, creating these emptiness.
And the women.
The women represent resilience, continuity, bearing burdens. They're the ones who quietly shoulder the grief, the responsibility, keeping life going.
It's like an inversion of traditional power structures.
Sort of, yeah. The film seems to suggest that. Men might have surface power but vanish, while the women show this deep, enduring resilience. They carry the fabric of life forward.
And Yumiko is part of that line, bearing the weight, but also finding her own quiet way forward.
A quiet rebirth, perhaps, while still carrying everything.
That's a really insightful way to put it. Okay, let's talk about one of the most striking scenes, the old woman going out to sea during a storm. So potent.
It's incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Almost mythical, like a metaphor for confronting death head-on and somehow making peace with it.
Not death as something coming for you.
But as an internalized passage. A choice, maybe. Or just a moment of readiness from within.
And the symbolism of the elements there.
Huge.
Yeah.
The sea, maybe representing the unraveling connection to life, the storm, the inner turmoil of facing mortality.
But the woman herself is calm.
Unexpectedly calm, yeah. Which signifies acceptance, peace with death, seeing it not just as an end, but maybe a natural extension of life.
And her return isn't literal survival.
I don't think so. It's symbolic. She faced it, acknowledged the void, and then chose life. Came back, having made her peace.
Which brings us towards the end of the film, the final scene. Again, silence and symbolism.
We see these figures in black, walking slowly, silently.
It's ambiguous, isn't it? A funeral, a farewell to the past.
Exactly. It's ritualistic, but undefined. Its power is symbolic.
It feels collective, yet anonymous.
Yeah. It shows grief is personal, deeply so, but often lives within a collective form, a social ritual. The anonymity speaks to that.
And time feels suspended again. The ending feels circular, like mourning itself.
It mirrors that ongoing cyclical nature. But then there's that crucial shift.
The why.
Yes, for the very first time after all that silence, Yumiko audibly asks why.
But it's not like she expects an answer now.
No, I think the point is she knows she won't get a rational one. It marks a huge internal shift. She's finally letting the raw emotion out, surrendering to the reality of the loss without needing to understand the incomprehensible.
So bringing all these threads together, what's the takeaway from this deep dive into Maborosi? What's Kore-eda telling us about grief and life?
Well, the film isn't just charting grief, is it? It traces Yumiko's quiet, difficult path along that blurry line between life and death, confronting sudden loss, searching for meaning.
And she does build a new life, a second family, but the grief is still there. She carries it.
She finds a way to carry on, absolutely. To build something new while integrating what was lost. It's not about getting over it.
And Kore-eda communicates so much through that silence.
Immense depth, immense meaning. And I think a key message is that sometimes the biggest transformations, the deepest shifts, they don't arrive with a bang. They come quietly, subtly, through time and that internal processing.
That idea, deep transformations arriving quietly, that really sticks with you. So, thinking about this deep dive into Maborosi no Hikari, maybe the question for you, the listener, is, what does it suggest about the power of silence in navigating life's hardest parts?
Or about those quiet, unspoken ways we find peace with things that just don't make sense.
Something to ponder long after the film ends.